A little over a month ago, I decided to make the switch to keyboard and mouse. Beforehand, the last time I'd really properly played Fortnite was back in Season 3. Back then, the level of Fortnite players was much lower, and at this time I only ever played on controller. So other than making the actual switch from input to keyboard and mouse, I was effectively having to relearn Fortnite. I made this decision after the multiple nerfs made to controller, along with, for me personally, I feel it is easier to get to a higher level on keyboard and mouse in the long run than on controller. So here is my progression of where I've got to within a month after making the switch. So in the first week after making the switch, I started off with the basics, learning the fundamental things you need to do within Fortnite. This included edit courses, aiming drills, using Kovacs, practicing box fights, even though you could argue this was a bit early for this, as well as practicing my 90ing. Over the week, I did see steady progress in all of these fundamental movements and skills. After the first week, I was happy where I'd got to, and this really set me up and left me motivated to carry on pushing through. After doing some research and also with the prior knowledge of when I did previously play Fortnite in Season 3, it's very obvious your 90s are critical. The faster your 90s, the faster you can get to high ground, and effectively high ground is where you always want to be in most scenarios, as that way you've always got the advantage over the opponent. So apart from adjusting, learning the keys, the movements I needed with my fingers, I felt this was the best skill to learn first off. So from in week 1, where I kept jumping under my ramp, struggled pressing all the builds, towards the end of the week, where I could do it really slowly, but I couldn't do it with any momentum or any real pace, I gradually was improving. I got to a point where, on a rather consistent basis, I could do 2 90s in a row, and it wasn't too bad. When I'd reflect on the footage, I could tell I wasn't jumping quite high enough up, and maybe without the best amount of momentum. Towards the end of the month, I could triple 90 at a reasonable pace, and I'd say they are pretty fast considering I've only been on KBM for 1 month. The next improvement I want to be able to make with my 90s is being able to do 2 in 1. When I do watch pro players play, a lot of the time they're doing their 90s and they can do 2 in 1 movement, or 1 jump shall I say. So eventually this is the point where I want to get to, but I can do 3 90s 1 jump at a time. So the next key aspect of Fortnite I really focused on was edit courses. If you didn't know, edit courses typically are pre-built structures that you have to edit through, which is mimicking what you should do in the game. The only difference being, you don't need to build them yourself, they're already pre-built, so they're perfect to practice just the editing aspect without actually building them yourself. So before I could move on to actually building them myself and not needing an edit course, I needed to perfect all the different kinds of edits that edit courses allow you to do. Some I really focused on was double edits whilst ramping up, as well as triple edits. Over time we did improve, and that led me to have enough faith to try to build them as well as editing through. We spent a lot of time trying to perfect the double edit, as this is potentially one of the most key edits you have to do when you're playing in Fortnite. They help most high ground retakes require them, so that's why we spent a lot of time on it. 2 of the key mistakes that I would make was I wouldn't pull out the ramp after editing through, so we'd just fall down, or simply I'd just mess up the edit. Over time I would say we got to a point where we had as good as perfected it. We could do it more times than not, a lot of the time. This led me into eventually trying to do a triple edit. This is much harder and takes a lot more control on your mouse, where you're actually positioning your cursor whilst going through the edits. Some mistakes that I would constantly make would be, I would either not pull out my stair to carry on ramping up and I'd fall down, previously like I'd done before. Sometimes I wouldn't just place the wall down, other times I'd just place the wall down and just mess up the edit. And sometimes I would do the double edit, I'd put the wall down, but I wouldn't actually put it down. I'd pre-edit it first and then put it down, which isn't what you want to do when you're actually doing a triple edit. At this point after a month, I still haven't perfected the triple edit, but I'm rather consistent. I think my record is 4 or 5 in a row But other than that, sometimes I could get 2 in a row, or maybe only can do 1. Sometimes I'm just having an off hour and just can't do it at all. But we have got there, and we've got it to a good level after a month on KBM. The next key aspect of Fortnite that we decided to start practicing was aiming. Now, aiming to a lot of people may sound so obvious that you wouldn't practice it. But for me, who had only ever played on console on a controller, aiming on a mouse was completely new to me. Therefore, I had to spend a lot of time getting my aim good. All pro players or any good player in an FPS game has a good aim. So the better my aim could be, the better I could be. So if you weren't aware, Kovacs is actually a kind of cheap game, but you do have to pay for it on the Steam store, made purposely to help you improve your aim. The main scenario I focused on within Kovacs was Tile Frenzy. This helps with your flick shots hell of a lot. This then translates to you having a good shot with your shotgun. When I've been streaming and playing a lot of Fortnite, I do get a lot of comments that my shotgun shot in particular is very good. Kovacs, however, isn't the most fun, but it's something you just have to do. When I did a free half an hour, even 20 minutes, or I was just sat around not doing much, I'd play some Kovacs, and eventually I was getting high scores throughout the month. And as we can see, when the high scores improve, typically it translates to my shot in Fortnite also improving. At this point, I had started streaming on Twitch TV. Quick little plug, if you do want to go check me out, my name over there is Marklad, and the link will also be in the description. However, on stream, I started playing a lot of Zone Wars with viewers. Quickly after I started doing this, I soon realised I needed to learn how to rotate. All these edits alone was not useful. So this led me into learning how to tunnel. There are multiple ways to tunnel, but I learned 2 key tunneling techniques. One is where you only use 3 builds per square. This is where you use a floor, a wall, and a ramp. This took me a little while to learn, but not too long. Typically to begin with, I just wouldn't put the floor down quick enough, so I'd just fall down. But I very quickly did learn this, and it didn't take me long to master it. The next tunneling technique I then learned was the old-fashioned one. This is where you build a box at a time and you run forward. This was a lot trickier, and I still, to the day, have not fully perfected it. To begin with, what I see myself doing, I'd never put the roof on top of the box, as well as I typically would miss a sidewall. Not only this, as my edits wasn't perfect just after a week or 2, I still wouldn't even edit through every time. Gradually this did improve, where I would put all the side pieces down and I'd edit through more times than not rather consistently. My fingers were adapting and I was getting more comfortable being on a keyboard and mouse. The last thing to do was to be able to put a roof on top of the tunnel. To this day, I haven't perfected always putting a roof on top of the tunnel, but more times than not, I can do it. So these 2 tunneling techniques led me good whilst I was then practicing in Zone Wars and getting more in-game experience. Zone Wars is the perfect way to practice in-game scenarios. You don't need to spend loads of time looting and then dying, which is very annoying when you're new to the game and there's people always going to be better than you. Zone Wars is a quick little rounds where you're always in the action, so you can constantly be practicing. Not just your aim, but your building, your tunneling techniques, your edits, everything comes into play whilst being under pressure by an actual person. This is why I'm playing Zone Wars all the time over on my Twitch, so again, make sure you come check me out over there. I'm playing all the time, streaming daily, so come check me out, and you know, you can get in some Zone Wars with me and you can practice as well. One of the next things I started to practice a lot during the month was box fighting. Very quickly, if you don't know what box fighting is, it's where you're in a box and someone else is trying to get into your box and kill you. Typically at the end game of scrims and competitive matches, it is all about who's the better box fighter. This can be quick little movements like a mongrel classic, quick little edits and shots, little peek shots, as well as your general movement, navigating between different builds and protecting yourself. Overall, box fighting is one of the most key elements to the game, so I had to spend time practicing it. As we could see in the first week when I did my very first ever box fight, my movement was very stiff, my edits were bad, and generally just my awareness and what I could actually do was just limited. Throughout the week we did box fight some viewers over on my Twitch, as well as just in general people that wanted to box fight me off Twitter. With the combination of playing Zone Wars, the edit courses, and the aiming on Kovacs, I could see it all coming into play whilst box fighting. I was getting fast on the edits, shooting, quickly resetting, and all of the above. From some of the footage you have seen, you can see the obvious improvement I've made across the month. And I expect this to only get better. The main thing I want to practice is my movement. My movement using the 4 keys still isn't great. You can tell I'm still not smooth with it, but I guess it's to be expected whilst new on KBM. And realistically, there isn't much I can do to practice it other than just constantly playing, and that's what I plan to do. The last thing that I practiced that I wanted to show in this video was the very first high ground retake I have learned. This high ground retake is reasonably simple, doesn't use many materials, and I could learn it reasonably fast, so it clearly shows if you are maybe switching, you should be able to learn this in some good pace. As I previously said in the video, double editing is key when ramping up, and that is key for this movement. You can see I double edit, quickly turn around, put 2 walls, and then put the ramp. This only took me a day to learn, however you gotta think I did learn this towards the end of the month, so I had got pretty comfortable with some of the edits, and I maybe had been learning some more advanced movements beforehand. The only way I can make this retake even better is after I do turn around and land on the ramp, is to put another floor and cone and then edit through that. However, I haven't even tried learning to do that yet, but that would be the next step. The other high ground retake that I did learn, which I think you can class as a high ground retake, is a side jump. A side jump is where you either cone yourself off or someone else, potentially an enemy, cones you off as you're ramping up, and instead of breaking through it, you just jump to the side of it, catch yourself and carry on going up without losing momentum. To begin with, I did struggle with this. What I found was I was putting the floor down too fast or just simply not jumping from the right spot, which meant I wouldn't gain a layer. I'll just effectively put a floor and then a stair and I'll just be on the same level and I haven't gained anything. Over time of moving the mouse quick, I did learn this movement and I can side jump at least to the right every time, however to the left is still a bit of a work in progress. Right YouTube, that is going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you did enjoy, and you did also enjoy my 1 month progression. Over the 1 month, I did feel I made a heavy and steady progress. Be sure to drop a comment what you do think to my progression. Did I do well? Am I behind where you were after a month on keyboard? I'll be interested to know as always. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. Also turn them post notifications on to never miss a video. I'm going to be constantly uploading new progression videos every month or every time frame that is reasonable, as well as other things that I am doing on Fortnite to improve, which you may have already seen on my channel. But the video is already long as it is, so I'm going to leave it there YouTube. So until I catch you in the next video, I'll see you later.